going on, everyone? This is Timothy, your host for A Time in Refinement, episode 3 already. Time's flying. I wanted to talk a little bit about hedonism tonight, self pleasure, self gratifying, ideals, etc. Went to Vegas this past weekend, and it just got me thinking about life in general, how I grew up, and I definitely won't lie. I feel like I've missed out a little bit in life, um, not indulging in hedonism and any type of sexual, really anything besides, struggling with some pornography throughout my life. Um, it was just interesting because from a small town, smaller anyway, and going from a small town to just under 4 hours, a town that does not sleep, that has all different types of, I use the word degeneracy, but again, I there's no judgment coming from that. It's just I say degeneracy as a culture in America. Um, the party scene, the drinking, the smoking, the drugs, the prostitutes, the hookers, all that stuff. And I definitely feel like I missed out a little bit. I definitely adhere to my values and my philosophies, but sometimes I do feel like, what if? What if I had that life? What if that was a past life? What if it was a life in the future for me? And it's just my demons talking about things I think I missed out on, which I know I didn't deep down. I really know I didn't. There's a reason I've adhered to all of these things that I hold true and dear. Um, but man, I know if I ever did anything like that, that the regret would just be so high, and I would feel even more lonely. Most of the time, I'm good, but some days can get lonelier than others. And just to see that aspect of life is just so wild to me. People trying to make a buck, and selling themselves, and people spending on all different types of things to feel something, to feel happy, to feel content in the moment. And sure, I guess there's a reason why people indulge in it all the time, because, it's kind of like a hit, you got to keep doing it and keep doing it to keep that high and going. It's just like drugs, I guess. I never indulged in any drugs, but I have plenty of people I know that have relayed information in regards to that. And it's just an interesting time because I haven't been around that growing up, obviously, and I grew up Christian conservative my whole life, so I think it was more of a fear-based thing than actually wanting to rebel, because I was so fearful of my parents and of God that if I did something wrong, that my life would just turn out like absolute garbage. And so just to kind of dissect that in society a little bit, I goes back to the big wedge we have between genders. I think there's such a bad rap for men and for women about um, people just really hating each other. And we know deep down that men need women and women need men, but we just keep driving that wedge farther and farther from each other. And I've gone through all of the pills: the red pill, the blue pill, the black pill, the white pill, misogyny, and then groveling at girls' feet and all this stuff. And what I've realized and what I've come to now, at least at this time in my life, is that, again, women need men and men need women. And there has to be, in my opinion, pretty defined roles for things to work properly. And I think women do want a masculine man, a provider. When I say dominant, it's not this weird sex BDSM thing, but more so someone that takes charge and has goals and knows what he wants. And women have become so masculine in their frame now because they feel like they have to, because we do have feminine men in society. But that's a whole nother topic too, is our identity crisis as well, and I'll definitely get on that in a later episode. But kind of relaying it back to the topic at hand, the hedonism. um, we don't want to be vulnerable as people. We don't want to be vulnerable with the opposite sex, even our own friends, friends of our own gender. We don't want to. For some reason, I feel like we shy away from it because we may get judged for it, which is interesting because most of the time that's very far from the truth, because everybody's insecure and sad and lonely and depressed and all of the things. So it's funny that we are all in our head with that. We think we're terminally unique in that regard, which is hilarious to me. And so just having those thoughts of, well, I'm just going to delve into the hedonism aspect of my life because life doesn't really have any meaning besides these substances that I consume. And it's just very sad to me. If you talked to me a few years earlier, I probably would have just been coming at it from a very judgmental, hateful aspect about, why is this person doing this? This is ridiculous. And all knowing deep down, it's affected me, and it doesn't matter what other people do. It's really what it comes down to is people being content with themselves. And I don't think people are content with themselves, those that indulge in all of those different substances. Now, there's a difference between being lonely and doing those and just wanting to do them just to do them. I think, maybe it doesn't come all from insecurity, but um, we are tribal people, going back, eons. We're, we're very, what's the word? We want to be around people. And so being lonely without a spouse or a partner or even with friends is, I think, very damaging because it really puts you in a different mindset of nobody cares. I'm going to die alone. I don't need anybody. And I just think it's unhealthy because it puts a very cynical state of mind inside yourself. And so, we need each other. We really do. And until we come to that conclusion, I don't think people will have real, genuine friendships and relationships until we come to that matter. Because if we go into a marriage or to a friendship and say, well, this person needs to do this for me, my wife needs to do this, my husband needs to do this, my buddy's not doing this, we're already setting ourselves up for failure. And sure, you don't want to get trampled on. You don't want to just be like, yeah, whatever you want, because people do have wants and desires. That's not what I'm saying. I'm taking it to obviously an extreme example of just being completely selfish and wanting pleasure for yourself the entire time. And it's interesting because society, we're definitely in the era of complete narcissism is a very strong word, but we're very much me culture about what can someone else do for me? What can this person do for me? What can this business do for me? This company, all of these things. And we've definitely taken it to an extreme because, we've had this for a long time about like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get this out of a relationship. Or, I go into business with a business partner and sure, I'm going to get this, but they're also going to get this. And it's just very damaging. We're so lost and we're so unhappy. And again, relaying it back to Vegas and just big cities in general and people partying, nightclubs. Sure, I think you can have a good time for sure. I don't have any problem with that. In fact, I encourage it. Maybe not to the extreme aspect of going to getting a hooker and hooking up or going and doing a line of cocaine because that's what you feel like is going to make you happy. But I don't know. I mean, everything in moderation, right? I mean, I'm not here to preach to you guys about what you should and shouldn't do. I'm just, from my perspective, it's just damaging to me, I feel like. And so yeah, it's just sad. Just sad to even think that my mind was going there while I was there, you know. And my buddy, my brother and I, we had a few drinks while we were there, and we ended up popping a CBD gummy, which he's never done one before. I've done one, and um, the next day he was just like, "Man, how do people do that? Like, do people do that all the time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, people do it all the time, all the time. People living for the weekend, living for that paycheck just to go spend it, and it's just so sad. Like, I feel like we need to do better as society to hold ourselves accountable to bigger and better things, some goals, some values, maybe some philosophies, instead of just going with the flow, And again, this is the reason, one of the reasons I named the channel Time and Refinement is because I feel like in my life it's really time for me to dig a little bit deeper on writing goals down, exactly what I want, what I'd like in a wife, what I want for the business. It needs to go a little deeper than that. We need to dig a little bit deeper on why I want this, and it's a lonely journey. It really is. So anyway, that's enough me rambling tonight. I just want to encourage you guys, whoever's watching and listening, to keep the faith, whatever that looks like for you. I love you. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of a relationship, and you are worthy of contentment. I'm not going to say happy. Contentment, I believe, is much better. And so I appreciate you guys listening and watching. Um, this is the end of episode 3, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side, God willing. Appreciate it. Take care. I love you.